Pleasure to be here today with you on this Memorial Day of May 26th, 2025. And we have some interesting perspectives on Memorial Day because I myself, Mark London, and my partner.
I'm Elmer Beard, and I am blessed to be around at this time celebrating, or should I say observing Memorial Day with Mark.
Yeah, and we have both a unique take because neither one of us are military veterans. Neither of us actually ended up serving in the military. However, we do have a great deal of respect for those who have sacrificed and risked their lives and in many cases given their lives and been in many cases badly injured physically, mentally, emotionally, and otherwise by their service. And we know that so many people end up committing suicide having served. So I thought maybe we would start out with our kind of personal stories, and maybe we can start with you, Elmer, since you have a pretty interesting story.
I think I have an interesting story. I was in Hot Springs at the last time that I had to take a physical and be examined to serve my country. And I knew all along that I took pride in serving my country. My brother had served my country, and I am very proud and I respect all of those who served in the military physically, mentally, and spiritually. But this story that I have to tell, I think, is of interest to our audience.
Yeah.
I was 25, 26 years old, and I left Hot Springs with two other young men. They were 19. Both were white, and I was the black. And one of those young men, white, aged 18, had my ticket to ride the bus. How he got my ticket.
And how old were you?
I'm 26 at this time. And I finished college, and I attended a couple of graduate school, and he was just out of high school. However, he was my leader because he was white. So I followed the direction and got on the bus after he gave the ticket to the driver. Off to Little Rock we go, and when we get there, we take the test, and he passes the test, and I failed it as I planned to do. I planned to fail it, but when it came time to eat, we went to a restaurant where he had my ticket again, and I was told I had to eat in the back. I kept straight through the restaurant, went out the back, and then waved for my meal, and came back later. After he had finished eating, we got on the bus and came back home. He kept my ticket all the way until we needed to give it to the driver.
So Elmer, does that mean that you didn't even get to eat your meal?
I passed. My hunger died with the racism that existed in the restaurant or on the bus or in life, period. It was not only that one thing. I knew from my age 17, 18 that I would never serve my country like my contemporaries were serving because of the system. And I respect and honor all those who served for me, and constantly, often I say, what they did for me, I would not do for them then or there, if I may, because I'm a militant now.
Yeah.
Superintendent of Hot Springs School District once referred to me as that. My sister and my family referred to me that. So I'll continue my war, my fight for my people. And when I fight for my people, I'm fighting for everybody that has red blood.
I have an awareness, having been raised in a very segregated white community as a young man, so much so that the first black student who shared my school in any of my classes leading up to high school was in high school. We had our first black student coming into the school, and having said that and recognizing the really distinct and different opportunities that I had as a white person in a white segregated community compared to what Elmer was subjected to growing up, it's really like living in completely two different worlds. And I can't tell you how much respect and admiration I have for Elmer on the basis of his courage, commitment, perseverance, just indefatigable energy to stay alive and to fight for his rights and to seek and win elected office in a very difficult environment here in Hot Springs, Arkansas, and other places in Arkansas.
I appreciate that, and I think that there are others who have that same kind of respect for me. And as I stated earlier, I love my country, I love my state, and it's reflected in my service to my community. And I just can't lie about the truth that exists about racism. And I'm of the intellect to the extent that I know if I'm going to help improve it and decrease racism, that I'm going to have to stay in the struggle. And my birthdays that I have will have nothing to do with it. The land that I fight on, United States of America, I give the same energy that I would if I was in Vietnam or Korea. I think that a story that was told to me in the presence of another person was a former mayor of the city of Hot Springs who was making her granddaughter acquainted with me, and she said that they had been seeking to find that dirt, those closet elements in my life, and they had failed in their effort. I don't know whether she was joking or that was a true statement, but the truth would come out about your service to your community.
Yeah.
When you have no vacation days from civil rights struggle. We in the civil rights movement, in the civil rights struggle, in the fight, are never off from the struggle. And it's around the clock, and we'll die in the struggle because we love America to the extent that we realize that without militancy, we're dead.
This is one way that Elmer and I have decided to express our mutual militancy against an authoritarian takeover of our government at all levels, unfortunately. Inspired at the top, but this process has been going on for quite a while. And so the kinds of fighting and battles that we're doing is just expressing our personal perspectives and feelings and reporting as clearly and directly and accurately as possible, as accurately as possible, the facts and information that we can ascertain from many sources, and in corroborating the sources as if we were real journalists. And so we're going to respect our audience in that way, and we're going to fight hard to do everything that we can to restore our democracy for what has been stolen from us, and really to honor the men and women who have served our great country. It has been great in many ways, not so great in others, as we all know. But they've served, many died, many wounded, etc., as we mentioned earlier. And so we're going to keep saying that we need to restore our democracy, to figure out ways to have a better democracy. In the future, I'm going to reference the idea of direct democracy, which I think is a possibility nowadays. Thanks, Elmer, for your contribution there. Now we have some things we'd like to point out in terms of historical origins of Memorial Day, which I don't think many people have an idea that is even true. And I don't recall this being true, even though I may have learned the lesson. It was probably easier for me to forget it, but something that we pulled up today, looking at the research for Memorial Day. Yes, thank you. We found that some documents that indicate that the first Memorial Day was a lot different than we thought it was. Do you want to read some of that for us there, Elmer?
I'd love to, and I'll be direct in the reading. It says, what we now know as Memorial Day began as Decoration Day in the immediate aftermath of the U.S. Civil War. It was a tradition initiated by former slaves to celebrate emancipation and commemoration those who died for that cause. That is very important, and it has been hidden and kept secret from the days that we did this, and it's a part of our history that there has been an attempt to erase.
Yep.
what that simply means, basically, Memorial Day was first observed by African Americans or former slaves, and we should tell the truth about it on this Memorial Day in 2025, and many people will not have heard this truth before. It gives us a good reason for doing what we are doing at this time.
So I thought I might read this next section for y'all.
Go right ahead.
It says this. It says, the concept that the population must remember the sacrifice of U.S. service members without a critical reflection on the wars themselves did not emerge by accident. It came about in the Jim Crow period as the northern and southern ruling classes sought to reunite the country around a political mourning, which required erasing the divisive issues of slavery and black citizenship. These issues had been at the heart of the struggles of the Civil War and Reconstruction. So,
excellent. A comment to make about that is that African Americans themselves have always been peace-loving people.
yeah,
That's evidence that we wanted to not necessarily forget the war had existed, but we wanted to give the respect to those who had died in that war and the reason for the war being in existence itself by referring to it as a day of decoration, with decorating the graves and decorating the areas where the men and women were injured and bones were broken and they bled and died, and many of them were buried in piles and not even given a grave individually as a result of their contribution to our country.
so there's another paragraph that we have.
I'd like to read that paragraph. It says,
Highlighted.
to truly honor Memorial Day means putting the politics back in. Mm-hmm. It means reviewing the vision of emancipation and liberation that animated the first Decoration Days. It means celebrating those who have fought for justice while exposing the cruel manipulation of hundreds of thousands of U.S. service members who have been sent to fight and die in wars for conquest and empire.
Yeah, I mean there's a lot of substance in that paragraph, Elmer, and it's amazing to me that we have just kind of, as you mentioned earlier, this is not just a day for eating and drinking and, just having a celebration, but it really is an important day to honor and respect those who have served our country for the last almost 250 years. And, I see us being involved in this challenging struggle right now to restore the country, and obviously we need to appeal to all of the people who have served and are serving now in the military to support our cause, to join us in the streets, to join us in our writing campaigns and our protests and our demands to the government to do the right thing. One of the things that we've been talking about is the idea of impeach, convict, and remove for the president. But there are a lot of other people that are complicit in the crimes that the president is committing, and he could not do it without a lot of support from within our own government, from within our own society, and then a lot from foreign support. We see the Middle East people supplicating to his demands and giving him ridiculous gifts, and then we see him having this grand party at Mar-a-Lago coming up for the biggest donors to his meaningless meme coin, which is artificially valued in absurd numbers, billions of dollars that people are investing in these things, or I should say bribing with these purchases.
Our silence gives consent to that.
Yep.
We live in a country where we have the freedom of speech,
Right
the
now.
freedom of the press, and we should use it.
Yep. We should use it as long as we have it, and if it gets taken away, we should still be using it anyway.
That's why we're here. And in celebrating Memorial Day, I look upon it as a day of thanksgiving for, as we see on the streets and in stores and business, some gave all and all gave some.
Yeah.
We can appreciate that.
Can you say that again, please? All gave some.
Some gave all and all gave some. And you and I are still giving some now.
Yep. Well, we have a different level of engagement. You know, we haven't had to follow the sergeant's orders or eat in the mess hall or figure out how to use an automatic rifle yet. But, you know, we are willing to do everything that we can peacefully to make sure that we get our government back and we get the democracy that we've always endeavored to create. There's something else we could read over there. Maybe you can read it in a little bit more clearly than myself. I'm going to go ahead and try to get the highlighter over here and say, maybe we'll just
I'd be glad to read that. I believe we have it here. It says,
do that. Yeah.
we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal,
Yeah.
that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, government are instituted among men, delivering their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute a new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Yep.
That's what we're doing right now.
Yes, it is. And when Thomas Jefferson wrote those words, they were resonant. People were at the point where they were finally fed up with being poorly represented by the King of England, who was dictating all of the ways in which they would price things and pay taxes and swear fealty to the king. And you know, we got a similar problem right now here, only the king is sitting in the White House in the Oval Office, and we need to get him out. What did Comey say the other day? Oh, he didn't say it. He took a picture of some shells he saw on the beach. It said 8647. Pretty good idea. What that means, Christy Nome, in case you didn't know it, is the word, the term 86 means to exclude somebody from, usually from a place of service like a restaurant or a bar or something like that. It means throw them out. Doesn't mean to assassinate or kill them. No, it does not. And 47, of course, we know that's the number of the president's term. He's the 47th president of the United States and the 45th president of the United States, much to our chagrin, embarrassment, humiliation, and shame. I'm sorry it's true, but it's what we have.
Freedom of speech, and we have to exercise it. If
That's
it
what we're
makes
doing.
someone uncomfortable, being uncomfortable is nothing new to those of us who were brought here in slave ships, and we remember our past. And although it's not a past that we appreciate, it is a past that we have to acknowledge and not lie that it exists. So there we are.
I wonder, Elmer, if you'd be willing to, paraphrase your idea that freedom isn't free.
In my poetry, I quite often recite this poem, and usually at the request of someone who wants to hear the truth about my original poetic evaluation of the price of freedom. And when I'm asked to do that, this is what I say. Freedom is not free. It never was. It never will be. It never goes on sale. There's no discount for it. Freedom will cost you the shedding of blood, the breaking of a bone, the bruising of the body. It could cost you your entire life. We know this from what has happened in many states when it came to people soliciting efforts to have voter registration and the right to vote in the 60s. It was painful for many, many people, and we have a list of those from time to time. We'll bring this up because as elections come in the future, we'll be referring to the price of freedom. It is always expensive, and how much it costs is no set price. It's simply cost.
Man, Elmer, that's a really important thing for people to meditate on and ruminate on at this point in time. Freedom is not free. It requires all of us, our collective effort, and we believe the vast majority of the United States of America's citizens of voting age and younger and old, I guess nobody's too old to vote, but people who are younger, that we all need to rally around this idea that freedom isn't free, and we're going to have to fight like hell to keep our freedom. And let's root out the evil, despicable, criminal folks that are dwelling like, as Trump would say, vermin in the White House. Get them out, and let's move forward and create a better country to live in. And let's do it peacefully and respectfully, of course. Come on, everybody, join Elmer and I in the fight. We need you. We need everybody. And what I like to say is, please keep coming back, subscribe to our station, and keep
Just
fighting.
Stay connected.
Yes, and keep fighting. Never give up.